Hezbollah began firing into Israel in support of Hamas, which staged the terror attacks on October 7th last year. Communities in northern Israel, including the Arab-majority city of Nazareth, have faced a barrage of missiles, rockets and drones. DW's Emily Gordine reports now on how many citizens feel authorities are not doing enough to protect them.
It could have been so much worse. Shrapnel from a Hezbollah rocket hit the roof of this car.
We woke up in the morning. My wife was heading to work. This is my wife's car. And we saw shrapnel from the missile that hit the roof. We were thankful that our children weren't in it.
Firaz Haj Yahya is a member of the local municipality in the majority Arab city of Nazareth. He says they were lucky this time. Nazareth, like so many cities in Israel's north, has been under constant rocket fire by Hezbollah over the past year. Normally a hub for tourism, many shops have had to shut down since the war began in October. Without tourists, the economy faces collapse. And with the latest assassination of Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah, unease has settled over residents about what comes next.
What's happening is stealing my optimism. It's not letting me see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not seeing it.
Of course I worry about my kids. Every minute, every hour, they call me and send me videos asking how things are.
Of course, the situation now there isn't easy. We don't have shelters, we don't have safe places to go when the siren goes off. I really hope the war ends soon.
Bunkers are a really important part of Israel's strategy to keep everyone safe. But here in Nazareth, and this side of the city, there's not a single one public bunker. Many of the houses were built before it was mandatory to include shelters in them, and Firaz Haj Yahya says it leaves residents vulnerable.
In Nazareth, there are a few shelters that are old, and they haven't been prepared at all. Of course, in Jewish areas, there are many shelters. Our neighbouring city of Nof HaGalil has large budget allocations, but the Arab community lacks funding and everything related to safety and security.
It's a problem shared by many Arab communities across Israel, says Amir Bisharat, leader of the National Committee of Heads of Arab Local Authorities.
Due to the proximity of Arab local authorities to Israeli military sites, many Arab areas were hit by shells and rockets, leading to a state of panic, fear and emergency within the Arab community.
Many Arab communities long for the war to finally come to an end, not just to safeguard their lives, but also their livelihoods.
And DW's Emily Gordine, who filed that report, joins us now from Jerusalem. Emily, tell us more about how Israel's Arab communities feel about the escalation in the north.
Well, they're very, very worried. Many Arab communities, they live in the north of Israel. They've been living under this constant fighting between Hezbollah and Israel. And of course, they've also taken a huge economic blow. I mean, walking through Nazareth, that's usually a hub for tourists, for pilgrims. The streets were essentially empty. And then you add on to that aspect of security, of people not feeling safe. I mean, normally in Israel, when you go to cities here, there are bunkers have been put in place into, for example, big car parks. But walking through the old town of Nazareth yesterday, there was not a single public bunker that you could have run to if there would have been an air siren or air alert. And so what we're hearing essentially from the Arab community is that they're joining calls by hostage families, by hostage relatives for a ceasefire in Gaza, for a ceasefire deal in Gaza as well as in Lebanon. They see this as the only way of ending fighting. But essentially what we're looking at the moment, what we're seeing right now is that these calls are just not being heard.
Now, in a separate development, we understand Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has appointed his former rival, Gideon Sa'ar, to his cabinet. What can you tell us about that appointment?
That's right. Gideon Saar essentially is joining the government as a minister without portfolio, so a minister without an actual department. Gideon Saar is the leader of the New Hope party, which is a fairly small party that hasn't been doing very well in the polls recently. Now, why is he joining the government? Well, that could have two reasons, essentially. One is because, well, there's been rumours over the past few weeks that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would like to remove Yoav Gallant, the defence minister, from his cabinet. They've not seen eye to eye on a few things. Gallant, for example, was in favour of a hostage deal, and Netanyahu now sees the opportunity of potentially swapping him out with Gideon Saar. And number two could be essentially to strip National Security Minister, or reason number two could be to strip National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir of the power to break up this coalition government. What we've seen over the past few months is that every time there's been a policy that has not been to the liking of National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, then he has threatened to break up the government over this, and this is essentially Netanyahu's chance to strip him of that power. Now, the news has been received very critically in Israel itself. Many see it as an opportunistic move of Gideon Saar, because he spent the better part of last year criticising precisely this government. And it's being seen as a way of propping up this government now. A columnist in an Israeli newspaper here in Yediot Ahronot actually wrote this morning that this is, quote, a painful blow to a large number of Israelis who think that Netanyahu needs to go. So certainly there is some consensus that this could lead to a stabilization of the government, and at the same time it's also been received very, very critically.
Emily, thank you very much. That was our correspondent, Emily Gordine, in Jerusalem.